Probably have to turn that off during the hearing, yeah, or you can't.
What?
Do you have to turn that off during the hearing, or are you gonna leave it on?
What?
The radio?
I haven't started yet, so I'm listening to it.
No, I know that. They're on a fire, right?
Yes. See if it's all there. What, just as Patty Katie, we got the call.
Yeah, the attorney called and said he was stuck behind a line of traffic with the car fire. Apparently had the freeway stopped.
The tow truck towing the car, and the car caught on fire, I think the tow truck and the car both on fire.
Oh geez. Well, that stinks. Is that Kyle? That sounds like Kyle.
That's the state.
Oh, is it? All right, sure. Hey, Danny.
Frankie had lessons. Yeah.
First that was James, who tried to like, that wasn't a straight. This has white, yours has something's different, and you had a trailer. I was like, and he waved at me, and I'm like, wait, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I got home to James.
I think you're good. No.
He was
Sort of.
Sort
Well, she knows where I'm being.
How do you read that? I guess otherwise this is. It's awesome. Well, whether it's not. It's not your own time. And I'm like, I have hands free. I was not. I'm like, would you like to somebody talk to me?
It's like.
I just wrote like, and then you pick up what you do. Okay, and then they can decide. Like, how do you prove that? I told her, there's no place on my phone, I can show you my text. Like she said, then you go to the videos. So you ask the judge, they.
Yes. You can't, which is fine. That's- Dude.
Oh, what is this for? The hearing itself, or what do we do? Comes to the council. Japanese. Jap. Officer.
Welcome, everyone. Glad to see another good turnout of folks. Appreciate you coming. So now is the time specified for the city council to conduct a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider the following matter. Consideration of file number 1-2025, adoption of an updated comprehensive plan replacement development code, and zoning map in accordance with the technical assistance grants received from ELCD. The substantial criteria upon which the city council will base its decision in this matter are contained in 7-1-6 plan and implementation measure review, and 7-1-7 plan amendment applications, and 7-1-8 plan amendment, 9-1-6 zoning and development code administration amendments, 9-7-1 condition for granting amendments, 8-1-2 subdivision administration amendments. A public hearing is required by law and certain rules will apply. First and foremost, you must be recognized by the chair in order to speak and present testimony. When recognized by the chair, please proceed to the microphone and state your name and mailing address for the record. The hearing is required by law to be recorded. Generally, the public hearing procedure is as follows. Prior to the public hearing, a determination will be made of the qualifications of the council members and allow for challenges from the audience. I will open the public hearing with a staff report. The purpose of the staff report at this point is to further identify the applicable criteria of the case being considered and to provide background information about the case. Next, there will be testimony from the proponents, those persons in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from opponents, those not in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from anyone else who wishes to offer testimony or ask questions. Then, to honor the right of rebuttal, we will again hear from those in favor of the application. To expedite the hearing, the council members may ask clarifying questions of the persons as they testify. When this process has been concluded, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. So after that, we will be discussing potential changes amongst us, council members, based on the input that we received from the community. So if you want to stick around with that after you testify, we certainly appreciate that. During the hearing, some important standards apply. First, those who testify must hold their testimony to the decision criteria. As in all land use hearings, there are a complete set of rules, procedures, and criteria we must follow. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the council members and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Third, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with detail specific enough to allow the city council to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in the circuit court. Fourth, prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. If such a request is made, the law states the council must grant the request either by continuing the hearing to a time and date at least 7 days from the date of the initial hearing, or the record must be kept open for a period of at least 7 days. These are the rules. Are there any questions? Okay, so at this point, we'll go around as council members. Have any members of the council had any ex parte contacts? Maria?
Just concerns about what we're doing right now.
Okay. Jesse?
No.
Jamie?
Just concerns about,
Tammy?
questions of what the meeting was
I hear it.
zoning.
Yeah, we gotta remember to use the microphone. I got closer, so hopefully everybody can hear. Usually,
And I just said that, had a lot of questions about when the meeting was this time, there was a little confusion about it, because it was dated wrong, and, Dave cleared that up for us on Saturday, so sorry about that. And then some questions on zoning.
I've had some questions from folks about the comp plan and some zoning questions as well. So
Same, lots of people asking when the meeting was and, just clarifying questions.
Had some discussion with people, but they've all been people who don't live here.
Well, okay, are there any conflicts of interest that need to be addressed? Maria?
No.
Richard? No. Berlin?
One of the properties that is, could possibly be rezoned or not rezoned, that has been kind of a issue and a debate among us, is owned by family.
Would that prevent you from rendering an impartial decision? Jesse? Jamie? Tammy?
No,
And no for me as well. Okay, so does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the qualifications of any members of the council? Okay, I guess there's none, we'll move on. So at this time, the public hearing is now open and time for the staff report. So Dave or Carl or whoever.
So we provided a memo with what we talked about last meeting, some of the outcomes, kind of answers to that. I'm not going to go through that. Everybody should be able to get a copy of it tonight as they came in the room. You all have a copy of it. I am going to talk about some of the things that seem to be some hot topics, and I'd like to make some recommendations and for some conversation. So the zoning on Bridge and Sprague and Waters has created a lot of concern. I spent quite a bit of time in the last 2 weeks since the last meeting doing a lot of research, some of what I did last winter, but was unsuccessful. And then I got some better direction on where to look and went through a bunch of things. Since we don't have digital archives, everything's paper. Trust me, some of the stuff that's more than 80 years old is like glued together. So I spent a lot of time in the safe digging out 3-ring binders. And so I did get back in the 70s, 80s. So that's not as far back, and paper wasn't stuck together. So that was helpful. All typewritten, and going back through them when they originally zoned downtown in 1978, and was Sprague and Bridge. I have the map here that I finally found that we couldn't find all winter that showed that whole area is zoned red, which would be commercial. And then from 1978 to the mid 80s, individual property owners came to the city and applied for rezoning of different properties on both Sprague, Bridge, and Water over a course of about, we'd say 8 to 10 years. People were kind of through that. And so then it was kind of readily available. What I did find of interest that some of those permits weren't even signed. They were just enacted. So I guess it was different times, different things. Anyway, it was a really good opportunity for me to really delve into this a little bit. And so the council, I wanted to recommend to the council tonight that one of the changes is that we go ahead and leave the residential commercial alone on Bridge, Sprague, and Water. So as it's been perceived, and that would include the church, that would include all the houses on Sprague that were on this backside and the backside of the bridge all the way down to the park, including Mr. Burgess, who would come and testify certain times. And so I'm recommending that the council consider that as an adoption, as part of this, as the change. In your memorandum in the back, there is recommended language that would go and associated with that is kind of more up to modern language for that zoning. So I'm hoping that if you guys do decide to make that change whenever you get to the decision-making process, that you consider some of that language. So that I include the church. The golf course seems to be another real point of contention with folks. So I've done some research on it, and I'm not going to recommend anything, but I'm going to tell you what I've learned, and you could continue to do what you want. So I did reach out to another city who has actually Umatilla. I reached out to the city manager today. I had a meeting with him last week, and I forgot to ask him, but where they zoned Big River, which is a municipal golf course. And so they have it zoned medium density, which is residential, with an overlay of community service. So they have this huge overlay of everything. So what he said, he says, we have this additional zoning layer in Umatilla called community service that we call instead of on any zone. They can install it on any zone. So like the light industrial zone where the project path is located in Umatilla, that is light industrial, but they put the community service zoning on top of that to allow a path to be where it's at. Anytime we have a publicly owned use in a zone, we can apply the community service layer without changing the original zoning. So in the case of the golf course, this would allow, for example, for us to build residential housing along the golf course if we want. So it's like a layer. So it's zone residential, but then it has a layer for community service. And on that was just something he brought up. I'm just giving you some information that you can delve into on your own. Another thing about that is that the proposal that we had provided for you guys was more along the lines of the future 9 holes that would be someday. And along those future 9 holes, that would be where some houses could be placed along the fairways and the greens, where you see a lot of golf courses have homes that are along their favorite spot. They build a house on their favorite spot, whatever. The first 9 holes is really no place to do that except along private property on the outside of the golf course. So that doesn't really apply. It's just kind of a future plan. That was the whole idea behind it. Again, if you guys make your decisions, that's your decision, but that was the precedence behind that thought process, was for down the road, not current use of the golf course. And inside the comprehensive plan, the red line, you've got several things in there on goal 8 that I'm going to read you really quick. It's just one-liners. On goal 8, it talks about recreational needs, and it says down the findings. Says the Echo Hills Golf Course is an asset to the community and serves the region with a beautiful 9-hole executive golf course. And it goes on to talk about other features in Echo. And then on policy part of it, the city will make policy number 6. It says to maintain and improve Echo Hills Golf Course by adding and improving current auxiliary services when appropriate, expand the golf course to consider additional adjacent residential use. That's all that was proposed. Wasn't any proposal to, there was lots of discussions about it over the path. I mean, lots and lots of that. But at the end of the day, that was what I believe to be the intent. Again, in different interpretations, but I interpret it as that nothing's going to happen to the golf course. The city doesn't have very much debt right now, and the major part of the debt the city has is the golf course to operate it. It wouldn't make sense to change it to anything else but to operate it as a golf course from a business standpoint for the next 15 years minimum. So that's just some information. You can take it as you want. A little bit of thing about the development code. I keep having people come to my office, make phone calls, talk about this HOA concept. And I got confused about that quite a bit, and I've heard it for a while. And so, of course, there's no such thing as an HOA in a city. There's HOAs in private developments. The only one that is anywhere near us, Echo Heights, has an HOA. That's a private development. That's not even in the city. The city can't enact an HOA. There is no HOAs that cities can enact. And so,
If the members of the audience could please be quiet.
so that would, so what I want to do is talk about really quick, and then I'm done. I'm on my last piece. Is there's been a lot of concern about setbacks, fencing, lot sizes, and things like that. Under the current development code that we operate on, which is basically the same development code we had in 1978. It's had a few verbiage updates over the years. The last that I know of that's on paper is 2005. I believe Diane had said something in a letter that sooner than that, but I have no documentation of that. The setbacks from 1978 to now were 15 feet from the front of your residence. That hasn't changed. Setbacks along the side 10, 6, 4, depending on where you're at on the sides and back of your property, that hasn't changed. That is recommended in the current proposed size of your lots. This is where I think people really should take a look at in the proposed code and take a look at the old code, is that back in 05, they changed, when they updated it, they changed the lot sizes. So if you want a new lot, if you don't have an existing 5,000 square foot lot, which is a traditional lot in Echo, but there are a number of lots that are bigger, smaller, or in between. So I have a gentleman that just bought this land, kitty corner to us over here on DuPont, that had that old concrete house on it that was torn down. It's like 9,500 square foot lot, give or take. It's an odd shaped lot. He came to me and wanted to subdivide it. Well, asked if he could subdivide it and put a partition. Under our current code, he can't, because a lot that size has to stay 7,500 square feet. However, if with the new updated proposed code, that releases that restriction and allows people to say, hey, I got 9,000 square foot. I want to do 2 4,500 square foot lots. Can I do that? Why not? You're allowed to do that. So it would be, go through that process to be able to subdivide that up if they wanted to. That's not saying that they would, but they'd have that option where they don't have that option now. And I can't give that permission. I don't have any way of manipulating that in the system as we currently operate. So those are some really positive things that I think, and it has a lot of that in there, a lot of less restricting, and that also separates out the old 1978 and the one that we're running on now, which like I said, are pretty similar. They have the zoning and the use of the zoning all mixed together in one document where we've separated out. You have development code and then you have the zoning separate. So you can be able to associate the comments or the development code to the zoning. So it's kind of separates out, makes it easier to follow and understand. And so when I hear this HOA, they're making more rules, we're not, and we don't have the capabilities of going around and enforcing it right now. I mean, the only thing that we do now is we'll send a letter out every once in a while, and I stopped doing that because all I ever do is get pitchforks and tar and feathers for telling somebody to clean up their property. So I've kind of given up on that. But people can turn somebody else in. So pretty much it turns neighbor against neighbor. And I don't think a lot of people like to do that either. So we aren't currently doing that. We have violations all over town. I have people's house, we have people that have carports over public utilities, and we have that would be illegal in the 1978 one and the one we have now, and it would be the same if you guys adopted the new one. You can't build on a public utility. That's just not, most cities would have you tear that down. But Echo, we don't, just let you do it. And so it's been a real struggle for me to hear this when we're not enforcing the rules. I'm leaving in a year. Whoever comes in after me, less than a year, whoever comes in after me, they'll have to figure that out. I tried and obviously failed. So that will be something that you guys will have to address as the council moves forward if you want to do code enforcement or some version of that someday. Right now, very much it's Wild West, and this new plan wouldn't change that. So that's pretty much all I have right now. That's just some stuff that I want to talk about and address some of the things that I keep getting bombarded with. That's all I have.
So can I just add a current event that happened the other day to the code? You guys mind, but the Boardman fire.
Can you speak up?
Oh, sorry, the Boardman, this whole process has got me thinking a lot about a lot of things. And the Boardman fire that burned down 5 houses, supposedly some 6, 7, started 6 houses. Is that what the final number was?
And the energy.
Some of it was said, what sounds like by arson, which is unfortunate. But the field that was behind those houses was all weeds. And it was allowed to be weeds and had a lot of fuel. And when you add fuel, dry fuel and fire and wind, that can move to neighboring houses and structures really quickly. And so one of the reasons cities have code is to hopefully try to protect ourselves from those devastating events in the future. And I just kind of wanted to say that some code is not necessarily a bad thing, or enforcing it's not necessarily a bad thing if it prevents 6 homes from burning up. So anyway, it's unfortunate and it's sad, but really hate to see that happen here in Echo. And I've noticed the same thing as you, Dave, with the code. I went through and there's still parking standards that were in the 78 code, the 2005 code. There's still the parking standards in today's code too. So yes, Tammy.
Dave, I just had a question, if you can remind me, because I don't remember. What actually is the minimum lot in Echo? What did it go to? Is it
So in the proposed or in what?
in the proposed one?
Whatever, 3,500, 4,000, 5,000 people can propose what they want
Oh,
if they would like to. That's residential. Commercial does have some different standards too. It's a little bit bigger lots. I think it's like 2,000 or something, or 1,000. But a lot of it is kind of, because the things that we talked about in the pack, if you recall, Tammy, is that we talked about there was opportunity for, with the current codes and current city operations throughout the standards out in the planning world, is that for cottage